I'm really excited to share this video with you. I was on hold for 45 minutes to get a hold of a representative from WSIB, but we had a really good talk around when contractors need WSIB, what is law, what is an exception. I promise you're going to learn something in this video. I am really excited to share it with you. Hey, how's it going today? Good, good. I was hoping that I could ask you some general questions about when contractors need WSIB in Ontario.
Sure. See, I can do that. So sure. Go ahead.
So first off, I understand that it's law in most cases for most construction companies to have WSIB in Ontario, but there are a few exceptions.
Yeah, it just depends on what the exceptions are you're talking about. Like, what industry are you involved in?
Renovations.
Well, then it would be considered law.
Okay, so, but from what I understand, if you're a sole proprietor and you don't have any employees and you work directly for the homeowner, you don't need WSIB?
If you are working for yourself and the transaction is between you and the homeowner, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year,
Yeah.
then you are not required.
Okay.
If you subcontract work out, though,
Yeah.
there is a possibility that you will be required.
Okay, so like, I'm going to give you an example. I'm renovating a kitchen for a homeowner, and I decide that I'm going to bring in an electrician or a drywaller. Would that trigger me requiring WSIB?
Yes and no. So, are you, when you ask the electrician and the drywaller to come in, are you be providing you their WSIB clearance certificate?
Okay, so if I ask them if they have WSIB, then I still don't require it.
Right. However, they must provide you a clearance certificate.
Correct.
So, you can ask me, if I have WSIB, I can always say yes, but people I don't. So you have to clearance certificate.
Yeah, so you have to ask. So basically, if a homeowner wanted to ensure that their contractor has WSIB, obviously I know you can look up the contractor, but if that transaction is between a contractor who doesn't have any employees, he may not have WSIB.
First off, if a homeowner is taking on your business contract, I mean, he can always inquire if you have WSIB or not, but at the end of the day, you don't have to have it if you're only dealing with homeowners.
Correct.
Right? So, I mean, if you were telling me that you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you're the only person that does the work, you wouldn't be able to provide him a WSIB clearance certificate, let alone a WSIB account.
Correct.
Now, if you start bringing people in, things
Right.
could change, right? So he could be asking you, he or she could be asking you, and you could still say that you don't have it, but you could then turn to them and say, just to let you know, for some peace of mind, the electrician that I brought in does have it. Here's his clearance certificate.
Right.
The drywaller does have it. Here's his clearance certificate.
Right. Okay. And I assume as soon as...
You just have to make sure that you have information. Like, I mean, even if you're doing the work on your own,
Right.
right? That you, when you're asking the drywaller and the electrician, if they say that they have it, tell them, but you need to give me the clearance stickers. You got to have it on hand.
On hand. On site.
Well, the reason why I'm telling you that is because, I mean, what's stopping anybody from lying,
Correct.
realistically, right?
Nothing.
And the second part is you want to have it on hand because if you want to ever get audited, you're filing it, right? So if an auditor comes to your place of business and says, hey, John Smith, how come you paid this guy $500 or $10,000? You can say, well, he did an electrician job for me, but here's his WSIB clearance certificate.
Understood.
If you can't produce it,
Right.
you're held accountable.
Right.
They're being audited, right? So then they'll charge you the extra $10,000 on that person.
So, but if I'm a general contractor and I'm big enough to have employees, I would automatically require it, right?
Yes.
And if I...
Again, you don't have, it doesn't matter whether you're a big employer or a small employer, really, realistically. I mean, it's just that you're following the, you're following the rules and regulations.
The law. So if I'm a general contractor and I have WSIB for myself and I bring in an electrician, because we have to bring in electricians, do I still require to ask that electrician for WSIB even though I have WSIB?
Well, no, you don't have to ask them for that, but guess what? Now, whatever you're paying the electrician, even though he's a contractor or a subcontractor, is your responsibility.
Okay.
So his payroll affects your payroll.
Right, when it
But
comes to figuring out premium.
I always bring it down to a level where people, so we can all understand.
Yes,
If
please.
that person gets do you think they're going to blame?
Me, the general contractor?
Yeah. Right, because they're going to say, well, the first question they're going to ask them is, what were you doing here?
Right.
Well, I was doing an electrical job. And they're going to say, for who? They're going to point at you.
Right.
So then the ministry then comes to you and says, hey, was this guy working for you? You're going to say yes. Okay, did he have WSIB? And in this case, or this scenario, you're going to say no.
Right.
Right? And then they're going to look at your books to see that you were filing for him.
Correct.
If you weren't, then you're held accountable.
Right. Okay, so when it comes to figuring out a premium, if I hire an electrician that doesn't have WSIB, his pay, that money that I would pay him, would be used to figure out my premium for WSIB.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So I would say in most cases,
it'd probably be in your best interest. So you're in a bit of a situation, a catch-22, from what I hear from all my friends as well. Sometimes you find a real good person who does it really well in their trade. So maybe you're comfortable with this guy. So, I keep referencing it to O'Neill, but at the end of the day, maybe you're comfortable with this person, right? So you might pay for the WSIB, or, it would be in your best interest to that person and say, hey, listen, I'll give you the job, but I need your clearance certificate.
Right.
You don't pay for it.
Yeah. As a general contractor, I should be always asking for that clearing certificate. And as a homeowner, I should be asking my general contractor, who are you bringing on site and do they have WSIB? Can you provide me with the certificates?
Generally that's the rule of thumb, but the homeowner, at the end of the day, could ask you, being you, who does not have any employees, and hire subcontractors. At the end of the day, you wouldn't have it. You may or may not have it, depending on your scenario.
Right.
Which was my yes and no answer.
Yeah. No, it's very common. But as soon as I bring another trade on site, it would behoove me to have WSIB, and it would behoove that trade to have WSIB as well, considering we all work in the trades and we're doing this every day at multiple houses.
You would think, but you'd be surprised.
If I'm doing commercial work, I believe it's automatic I must have WSIB, or is that same thing?
Yeah, that's just like saying to me, I'm a painter versus a bricklayer versus a caulker versus a plumber.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're paying. It's just different trades.
Okay, cool. Well, then, man, that makes it very clear, I think, and I really appreciate you helping me out.
No worries. Is there anything else I can help you out with?
No, enjoy the rest of your day. So that was WSIB, and it sounds confusing, and quite frankly, it is confusing, but let me just kind of recap what he said. Basically, what he's saying is, as a general contractor, I get invited to homes, and it's my responsibility to understand whether or not the trades, the electrician, the plumber, the painter, have WSIB. In some cases, it's okay if they don't have WSIB, but in most cases, they should have it. So, Mr. Electrician comes in, he's working for me, that would trigger me having WSIB. I can take my WSIB, my workplace safety insurance, and I can cover the electrician. Say the electrician doesn't have WSIB, mine can extend to him. However, I have to report that when I figure out premiums. When a general contractor figures out his premiums, it's percentage of how much money he's paid out in wages or in contracts. So I really don't want to include Mr. Electrician in those premium calculations, so I'd really like to have his own. Here's the situation. When you're doing a renovation and you have a lot of trades in your home and you have a general contractor, it's the general contractor's responsibility to make sure that WSIB is accounted for properly. But as a homeowner, you should ask, hey, do you have WSIB? If you're hiring a handyman, if you're hiring someone to do a small renovation in your house, then it's not required. You heard him say it's not required if it's between the homeowner and the handyman. As soon as the handyman brings somebody else in, it's now required. If that handyman has employees, it's now required. But if you're doing a large renovation, plumbing, electrical, structure, you're doing something where someone can get hurt, it behooves you as a homeowner to have WSIB. Ask for a clearing certificate. There's nothing wrong. You can go to WSIB's website, type in the company's name, and it will tell you whether or not they have a clearing certificate. That means that they're eligible for WSIB. This information is important when it comes to renovating. It's something that we don't talk about, and I get that it's complicated. But what's not complicated is the question. Do I have WSIB? Yeah, I do.